All right, we are live, and it is episode 26 of Roll by Roll's Tavern Talk, a show where we, the Roll by Roll gang, discuss various aspects of running a great D&D campaign based on our experiences with D&D 5e and our current adventures in Emathan homebrew campaign. So joining me tonight are the rest of the Roll by Roll crew. We have Egan, who plays Douglin. Good evening, sir.
Hello, hello.
And we have Max, who plays Kogon. Give us something in Dragonborn.
I'm drawing a blank because you put me on the spot.
Nice.
Yeah, awesome.
Just
I
your
don't.
last name.
I don't study Dremna Finstruma,
There you go.
which
That's
means
a,
peace on the mountain. It means
yeah.
I
peace
love
on
it.
the mountain.
And
Oh God,
I'm
the
still
best.
struggling to get Farida's last name. I've written it out phonetically, everything I possibly
Did you
can.
get her last name? Like, did you use the website to try to create her last name, or did you?
Partly
Okay.
for her name, yeah. But Axe name obviously
Yeah.
came from that. So for this episode, we're gonna talk about leveling up in the game of D&D. So recently, you guys leveled up as we dropped down to our current crew. That gave you guys a little more swinging power. So we got it. We've been in a couple of little discussions around leveling up. So we'll continue that tonight. So, I kind of give you a heads up on this one, and we'll see what everybody comes up with. But first question of the night is, what is the highest level character you've ever played? So tell us about them. Max, why don't you shoot? I think
Currently,
you are. I think I know your answer to this
yeah.
question.
Currently playing it. Currently playing
Oh,
it. So
sweet.
level 7. Yeah, I've been a victim of group dropout and all that sort of stuff, and it's never really taken off. And it's kind of funny too because I played in like the same group for a couple years, but we always like something always derailed and someone else would start the new game, and like, you know what I mean? Like it just never
Yeah,
got.
just kept starting over again and again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
always with different stuff. Yeah, so I've
Egan, what
had a
about
lot of
yourself?
level 3 characters.
Yeah, I think.
Well,
Sorry to interrupt, but I think a
yeah.
lot of people kind of get up to five ish. Seems to be this spot when I was kind of poking around to see what the most common
Yeah.
levels were, and that seems to be where a lot of campaigns stall out.
So
Egan,
for me, it's a little like I have to be fair. Continuous from starting from level one
Yeah, that's the
to
point.
seven is Dublin. However, the highest level that I got to was Storm King's Thunder, both characters. Now, Ben started later. I think he was fifth,
fifth. I
sixth.
think fifth is where you guys joined.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's almost a tie at the end of the day because we got up to, double digits on levels there. But Storm King's Thunder would be the highest levels that I got, both for the Bard and the Barbarian. It was what do you call it? Lots of fun. But continuous, Douglin's right there, and I have a feeling, hope, dare I say, that Douglin's going to hold the trophy at the end of the day.
For the
even
most
even
levels.
if he's got to take Kogon down to.
Whoa!
Yeah,
There's only
they
one
got
level left. Only
yeah.
one of you gets it.
Keep
Yeah,
hitting him with that healing rod. Beat him
Yeah.
over the head with it.
it's
He
out of
might make
charges.
it.
Yes, I know.
Boom. It was great.
Cool. Geez, you know what? I haven't played as a character since probably AD&D. You know, where I was in any sort of anything beyond a one shot. I maxed out an illusionist, which I can't even remember what level that is. I'm thinking it was like 12, 13, 14, somewhere in there.
Well, I
Illusionist
can
was.
tell you right now, as a matter of fact, I have the old player's handbook up. So it went up to 12. However, you could, after that, still add levels, but there was no longer a chart
Nothing
for you.
nothing else you could
Yeah.
add. Yeah.
Yeah.
Long time ago, long time ago, and I don't know what it was about illusionists. I just loved them in AD&D. That and rogues. That's or
So much fun.
thieves as they were back then. And
Yes, they were.
yeah, and but it was a lot of fun. It was a now I will say we leveled up pretty quick in those days. We were kids. It was fun to level up, you know. So
Yeah.
experience points flowed pretty freely. So I will absolutely add that caveat. But boy, it was a lot of fun to play a high level character like that.
How about a DM, Colin? What's the highest level you've DM'd?
Um, it was probably Storm King's Thunder. Yeah, I think
Cool.
so. Well, certainly in 5e.
Yeah.
I can't remember in AD&D how. Again, we used to level up pretty quickly in those days because
Hmm.
it was a lot of it was almost all fighting and experience points. And I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh
the
yeah.
game was
You're
more
grinding.
that way back then, right? I mean,
Oh
dungeon
yeah.
crawls and combat and experience points, and that was the game. So all right, so second question of the night is do you prefer experience points or milestone advancement? And why? And kind of within your answer, does that change between when you're a player and a DM? Max?
Um, I think for raw feels, I like experience points because you're seeing that number grow. You know, it's another form of progression that you're like watching climb slowly, and you're like, we're getting there. It's coming soon. You know what I mean? Um, and so it is that sort of satisfying kind of feeling when you like tip that scale finally, and it's like, yes, we're next level, you know? Um, but I'm also a big fan of narrative play, and so um, I've definitely like used milestone more often because it can make more sense in narrative play, like when you're DMing to just boost them when it feels right. So it really depends on just the kind of like campaign you run, I think. But I think as a player, it just feels a little better to get you got 400 experience points, sweet, and you like add that to your number. You know what I mean? Like because
Yeah.
it's another form of a progression, right? Like when you get a
Yeah.
new weapon and things like that. So yeah, I think ultimately I prefer experience points.
Egan?
I'm gonna lean, although I like them both, I'm gonna lean Milestone. You touched on it, the RP side of it. I'm a huge fan of that, to where it's just sort of like feels right at this point for everybody to level up, like the vibe, let's call it. I think that the experience points are great, and there is some control that the players have, right? There, you gain a little bit of control there, where milestone at the end of the day is really in the hands of the DM. Um, I think the worry with experience points is that if you do have those murder hobos that are literally, oh, we have a town, let's kill everybody, and we get. I know it's a rarity if you're playing the right way. I get
Yeah,
it.
'cause again, the DM is still in control of the game, so they don't
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
allow experience points for stuff
right,
like that. You know what I mean?
right.
Like it's not a video game still, so.
Yeah, 100%. I do like the fact that and I don't know actually when Milestone was introduced, if it was prior to 5e. It might be another feather in 5e's cap. I think it's another fantastic way
I don't
to
know that either.
allow characters to level up. The other thing I think they did too is it used to be where it was strictly you killed a monster, then you got the XP. I like to now you don't have to kill it. You can have it surrender, you can have it flee, and still get experience points that way, either through the actual points or through sort of advancing to the milestone. So, but if I had to choose as a DM or as a player, I would like milestone just because again, I'm more narrative, and I'm not a fan of math.
Fair enough. Yeah,
That's a good
that is a good
reason.
point, though. It is a good point, you know. Some people just can't be bothered with it.
Nope.
Yeah. For myself, it so I don't have a lot of experience as a player, so I'm going to just speak strictly from the DM standpoint. I think the type of campaign you're running definitely suits one over the other. if I was running, let's say, a West Marches style campaign where people just came and went, and the sessions were very much scripted around a single night of play, and that experience points would absolutely be the only way to really run that, because then it helps, sort of to what you're talking about, Max. It helps reward people for being there that night and being a part of it, and maybe getting a little bit ahead of some of the other people. But my favorite style of play is where story is very important to what's going on, and milestone is absolutely leans into that sort of thing where you can build the story as you control when the players, so as you're moving towards your big bad end guy, you have a little bit more control over when the players level matches that part of the story. And you can see that, in some of even the Wizards of the Coast stuff, um, where the storyline progresses closer to the big finale, and the players are hitting milestones to build towards that. So, but I think they both have their place. I mean, it definitely adds some additional gamification when you've got that running tally going there, getting closer to the next level. Um, I definitely agree with you, Egan, in terms of I like how 5e is really stressed. You can get experience points for more than just killing things. The way that you deal with situations, the way that you deal with monsters that may not be combat should come with experience points as well. It's all experience, right? So
Yeah.
I like that change. Um so looking at levels and tiers of play now. Um, what do you think is the most fun to play? And you can talk about a tier, levels, whatever you want. Why do you think those are the funnest levels to play at? Max?
I think tier two is probably the sweet spot. Um, it feels like the right amount. Even with like if you think about like how how the D&D like the Dungeon Master's Guide prescribes creating combat encounters and stuff. It feels like still like it all works out best in tier two. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then as far as like being a player, you have a lot of cool abilities. You're not overpowered by any means yet. You know what I mean? Your gear is still in a controllable area. You know what I mean? You don't have the crazy like super legendaries necessarily. If you're playing a fairly balanced progression, right? Um, but you don't you have a lot of like fun things to play with still. You know what I mean? Like I just really think that is definitely the sweet spot. You're still close enough. You're low enough on hit points that you know you could still get taken out in a single round. Like it's good. I think second tier, so which is roughly for people who don't know, 5 to 9. I think is basically
Five to
second tier.
ten. Yeah.
5 to 10. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
the
Egan?
prime of.
Yeah, I would have said the same thing, but since we want to entertain here, I'm gonna say tier three, because the time, with Storm King's Thunder, just the amount of things that you could do. Now I can't speak to tier four, never been. So, hopefully one day soon, maybe in Emathan, we don't know.
You're
But
getting into wish spell territory
yeah,
there,
exactly.
so
Yeah, you
that's a
start
whole
to get
different game.
into a whole nother like world changing, events just on a whim. But tier three, what I enjoy about it, and I know it's a huge challenge to, for a DM to make sure they have, they don't have as many monsters to rely on to challenge the party, so it can be a heavy load there. But the amount of fun things you can do, because I was playing a bard, oh man, there were just so many cool things that you can do that weren't just, blasting a, seventh level fireball, modify memory and just, start messing with people. So yeah, three was a lot of fun. Tier two, of course, is right there. I mean, I think most of the games that we played since the pandemic have been tier two, right? They always hopefully get there. I can tell you what I don't like is tier one, especially first level. It's like a goblin breathes on you and your character is dead. So yeah, tier two or sorry, tier three followed closely by tier two.
Especially if you're a melee class or something. You're basically what you do is I take my swing and
Yeah.
then next. You know what I mean?
And
Next.
Like
hope not to die.
that's it. Yeah.
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 For me, I would agree with Max and Egan. I think you were leaning that way. I like tier two because, especially levels like 5, 6, 7, in particular, is when a lot of classes come into some of their really cool features, get introduced in that area, and it's to what you were talking to, Egan. I know for myself as a DM, levels 1 through 4 the characters are still kind of squishy, and
Yeah.
I think you're extra paranoid as a DM about what you can safely throw at them because use our group as an example. Like by as we were getting into 4 and then you guys moved into the next tier, you start developing strategies as a group that leverages what your powers are. Whereas early on, nobody really has anything that really sets them apart in terms of putting a strategy together, a combat strategy, an encounter strategy. Everybody is, you get every time you get into an encounter, everybody's just flailing for their life at whatever, like you just said, whatever my one thing is I can do,
Yeah.
and that's it, and now we're just hoping we don't get slaughtered. um I would I will I so desperately want to run a tier 4 campaign, like where you actually start out with a story. Like it doesn't even have to be a
Yeah.
long campaign, just
Hmm.
something where there's a very defined reason that these powerful characters are going after something. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Fun
Yeah.
chance for some epic backstories there too. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly. That got everybody to
Yeah.
that point, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, that'll be fun. We'll have to maybe do that one of these days.
That'd be fun. Yeah, I'd be down.
Yeah, I think that could be a lot of fun. Moving on to question number 4. So this is kind of a bigger question, but what are your preferences around how you level up? So, and what we're really talking about here is, would your preference be to have it make sense story wise and role play it through the campaign, or do you just kind of, hey, they're getting more powerful as they get experience, and you know, do you do you prefer one way or the other again as a DM or a player? What's your thoughts around that, Max?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's gonna be no surprise for probably all gonna be on, are roughly on the same alignment with this, but like, um, as long as it doesn't break the immersive feel of the game, then that's what we should go with. So like, um, leveling up should feel like it's congruent with what you've established. You know what I mean? And not just come out of left field. And sometimes that might even be like um if you're gonna take a particular feat, like if you know you're gonna take a particular feat down the line, maybe you want to start integrating that into your role play a little bit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that it feels like it's an organic part of your character. It,
I,
it'll,
I,
it,
I love that. I think that's a
yeah, it adds to your
fantastic way.
immersion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I have stuff planned for Kogan at level 8, and I've been trying to like use that as like an influence in like how he's feeling now, and like so it gives him another sense of growth, narrative growth, as in addition to just raw character stat growth. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
like
like
just think how cool it would be story wise if you tried to use an ability that you don't have, you have a 0%
Yeah.
chance that this is going to work. But from a
Yeah.
story
Yeah, that's
standpoint,
cool.
how much fun would it be if you try and pull it off and it's like,
Yep.
no way. Like, yeah.
So yeah, so um that's I think that's kind of I know it's just a simple answer, but I think that really is what it boils down to is just something like that. I can't stand, we've talked about this off screen, but like the multi-classing that's just way out of hand and it just feels like you just slapped it together and it's like, okay, yeah, that's a powerful combination, cool, but there's no real thought to like any sort of like how does this fit in the world and like where you got this stuff from and like or even if it's like yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
That's my big beef is like let's make it fit. You know what I mean? Let's make it feel like it came with a purpose and fits. So
Yeah,
that's what
I definitely agree with you there because there are multi classes that would make a fighter thief. Yeah, that makes sense, right? I
yeah.
mean, I can see, but
Conan.
when you get the sort of oh, I'm a warlock druid,
Yeah.
or I'm a cleric barbarian, and or
Yeah,
maybe
see,
cleric could be make sense, but
those are things that you'd really in my if I was running that game I'd be like that's cool but we got to work on like making this feel like it belongs and
yep,
like let's start the path if that's what you want to do you know what I mean instead
yep,
of just like I'm level 1 cleric now you know what I mean okay
Yeah.
but
just
from where
just toss that in there.
yeah so yeah
Egan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I am a big fan of role playing out how I got something. Like it's just like I can't help it. You know, like and just, for folks out there, it doesn't have to be every single thing that you get when you go up a level. Pick a power. Um, you know, I know with Douglin, I actually did that. I would train and I wanted to get a feat that was called Great Weapon Defense because he didn't want to wear a shield. And so I found this, and Colin and I worked on how to basically bring that forward. And, we did training, we do off-session chats on the Discord and was able to RP that out to where it made sense instead of him just waking up one morning and, oh, I've been favored by Gath to be able to do this. Like he trained for it. Melee, there's a lot of ways to do that. Um, you know, pick a power. I played Ben with all sorts of bard powers. He would have a magical book that he would read or try to learn a song or something like that, and he would fail and fail and fail, and then finally, although the grand song he never got, but he would get powers through the process. Um, and if it's too heavy to do it every time, then do it, when you're getting an ASI or a feat, as
Yeah.
Max said. Like maybe make it those, sort of milestones of fourth level, eighth level, 12th level, or when you get one of your class's powers, right? Like Paladin at certain levels gets an aura. Okay, let's RP that out a little bit. How did this come to be? How did he get this? And then to digress to multi-classing, yeah, make it make sense. Work with the DM, say, hey, I want to multi-class into this. Okay, well, how are we going to do that? You're not just going to get shot with a beam from a god and all of a sudden you're a barbarian cleric. Let's work on that, right? Like, do you have a cleric in the party that's taken you under their wing and has slowly started to teach you certain things that, you might lean towards that? So yeah, for my part, role play as much as you can to gain your powers. I think it fills out your character so much more. Very, very gratifying.
Yeah, I definitely if there's a way to make to role play it, to integrate it into the play, absolutely every time that's the way my preference would be to go. You graciously allowed me to speak to Lafferty, but the way we use Lafferty consuming the void water, and that sort of brought out the warlock ability, or sorry,
Sorcerer,
the
yeah. Yeah.
sorcerer abilities that were just appearing because of this this void water that he was consuming. I think that was a neat way to weave it into the story and make it a part of the story. Downtime, if you can find the right way to work it into the story, I think is a great way to add an explanation around. And actually, Douglin, to go back to during our big downtime there, Douglin trained with the Vanguard, and that was a part of him developing some of that, getting himself back in shape and all that stuff that we sort of worked into the story. Um, like our story, I'm always struggling because things kind of always roll into other things, and I have to make a decision at some point to pull back on the reins if we're going to find a lot of downtime. You know what I'm saying? It's a little tough in some campaigns. I guess a perfect example would have been, the way we played Storm King's Thunder would have been difficult even in that campaign to find large periods of time for downtime. Like we did one, for a week or so. But again, when the story is always feeding you the breadcrumb trail, you really have to make a decision at some point. We're going to stop, and the characters are going to go off and do these things, and when they come back, they're going to be leveled up, sort of thing, right? I mean,
Work it into your milestone.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. If you can do that, then that's a good way to explain how some of that
Yeah.
that happens as well. But anytime you can work it into the story and or even pull it out of the backstory or whatever, I think that always makes it that much more fun way to explain. Yeah, to explain how they suddenly, well, because I mean, where you look at our campaign as a really good example. We're a half year into it, and you guys have gone from level 1 to level 7 in terms of, there's a lot of things you can do now that you couldn't do a
Yep.
year ago.
Yep.
So yeah, but also, you know I, one thing that I like, and I don't know what your guys' experience around this is, not leveling up in session. Because I
Yeah.
know some groups level up in session. You hit that milestone, you hit that, or so. Because to me, then that, like, I don't think we've ever made a big announcement of all this additional stuff in the game. It's just like all of a sudden characters are pulling new tricks out of their hat. And it to me, it's easy to think it's things they've been working on, and
Yeah.
this today I'm gonna give it a whirl, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, that's cool. All right, well, let's wrap this one up. Final thoughts around leveling up in AD&D. Max?
AD&D.
Sorry, AD&D. We were talking about AD&D.
We will in a
5e.
sec.
Roll back the clock.
Yeah,
And,
way. Sorry,
That's all good.
5e.
Final thoughts. Yeah, just like what we've been talking about, try to keep it narratively congruent if you can. And I think also when you do that, it's fun for your other players as well. You know what I mean? Because it gives them something to interact with. And you'd be surprised sometimes, maybe this isn't true at every table, but I really enjoy discovering what my co-players are coming up with and revealing. That's why I like to keep my cards close to my chest because I think it's fun for them to get the big reveal on story arcs or character traits or personalities and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like little things like that is always a fun engagement inter-party. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. It's yeah, I definitely I like that. If you level up and you don't really talk a lot about what your character can do at that point, it becomes a bit of a reveal in session.
I mean, look at Lafferty, right? Like,
Yeah.
like all of a sudden the party noticed like he was a little jittery or something like that. You can have a lot of fun with it.
Hmm.
So what are your thoughts, sir?
I want to bring back titles from
Oh,
speaking of AD&D.
Do it.
We
AD&D.
weren't going to get out of this without it. All right. So I went back and I looked at the old Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Player's Handbook. And for the young folks out there, they used to have a title for every level of every class. Okay. Usually we only went up to 12, just FYI. But some of my favorites, and go back and look because there's some pretty funny ones. But a cleric of seventh level was called a llama, like the Dalai Lama, as Max told me. Sixth level was a cannon. Figure that one
Oh,
out.
canon. Okay.
Sixth level fighter was a Myrmidon, and eighth level was a superhero.
It's
Okay.
called superhero
A
straight up.
I swear to
superhero?
God, superhero. A
That's awesome.
paladin, Duglin is not a seventh level paladin. He's a chevalier. Thank you very
Chevalier.
much.
Oh, nice. Very knightly.
Now, a couple of funny ones. A ranger at second level was called Strider. There's no freaking way Aragon was only a seventh level. Okay, or second level. Come on, guys. Let's figure that one out. A magic user actually created its own subclasses later on because an eighth level was a warlock, a ninth level was a sorcerer. So there's some history there. Our favorite Colin, illusionist, third level was called a trickster. Love that. And then Rogue had all sorts of great names, but my favorite was the sixth level one, which was called a filcher. So I think they should bring back titles, maybe not for every level, but maybe we can do it for tiers. So that's my final thoughts.
Cool, cool. Yeah, that's a bit. Until you mentioned those, I totally forgot about the AD&D titles. Yeah, that everyone had. Um, my final thoughts are, I definitely think experience points, milestones, both great systems have their place based on the type of game you're playing. Um, I absolutely try and encourage to always try and find a way to work the leveling up into your game to make it be part of your story. Max, I love your idea of keeping your cards close to your chest until the first time Kogon grows huge in a battle and everybody's like,
Yeah.
whoa, what happened there? Like, I think that kind of stuff is just fantastic. It really adds to the play into the story. So yeah, we'll call that a wrap for episode 26 of Roll by Rolls Tavern Talk. Looks like JD popped in and said hello
Oh,
for a moment. I'm not sure if he's
nice.
still with us or not, but always glad to always glad to have a viewer. Hopefully everyone that's watching has enjoyed tonight's topic. Tavern Talks normally occur on Thursdays. We're working on that a little bit right now, but our next adventures in Emathan session will be this Saturday. So looking forward to that. That'll be Saturday, May 18th. For those of you watching on YouTube, please support us by making sure to like our videos, subscribe to the channel, and guys, as we always do at the end of a Tavern Talk, we'll offer everyone a cheers, and thanks for joining us in the Tavern, and hopefully you can join us next time. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Fun,
you.
Wow.
fun as always.
Peace.
All right, good night.